One of the most popular games right now is Supergiant Games' Hades. But how does it compare to Greek mythology? Should we be taking what we learn in the game as fact, or is it pure fiction? My name is Laura Taylor, and here with me is my lovely co-host as always.
Hi, I'm Andrew. How you doing?
Welcome to Digging Deeper with the Ancients. Now, this week's episode was requested by a listener, but it is a bit of a refresh for many people because most of us learned at least a little Greek mythology in school. However, while planning the pop culture portion of this episode, we discovered that the recently released game Hades by Supergiant Games is not only loaded with references, but also very accurate to the mythological sources. Unlike others, like the God of War series, that name the protagonist after a real mythological character, but in mythology, he's not the son of Zeus, nor is he Zeus's heir. Or there's also Disney's Hercules cartoon that took so many liberties with the source material that it would have to be an entire episode on its own. So if you're interested in more comparison episodes like this one, or the MCU versus Norse mythology one we've done previously, please contact us and let us know. Currently, we're thinking of a future episode comparing the character of Hercules, or Heracles for Greek, across various pop culture forms, including the Disney movie and various TV shows that have featured him. But it depends a lot on what you listeners want. For today, we'll start with a brief overview of the main pantheon of gods in Greek mythology, referred to as the Olympians, and discuss the sources we have for learning this information, which of course differ. Although I'm sure you're just as used to it as we are, since yet again this content was passed down primarily through storytelling, and mythology is extra special in that its purpose is to teach and to help understand the world around us. In fact, even in the ancient times, many people believed it to be pure fiction, although interestingly enough, some of what was assumed to be complete fiction, archaeology has proven has some basis in fact, such as Homer's epic poem The Iliad and the story of the city of Troy. For a long time, that was believed to be pure fiction, but they've found archaeological evidence of a city of Troy.
By digging wells.
I don't know, I didn't look that one up specifically, but it was through digging, so who knows. Then we'll get into comparing these sources and mythological facts to the game Hades, as well as a few other pop culture references Andrew has come up with. The main family of Greek gods consists of the parents of the Olympians. The parents are Cronus and Rhea. That's about all you're going to hear of them. The children were Zeus. In Roman, his name would be Jupiter. His sister, wife, Hera.
Of course.
In Roman, it's Juno. Brother Poseidon. His Roman is Neptune. Brother Hades. In Roman, it would be Pluto. Although he's technically not an Olympian because he lives in the underworld, and Olympians live on Mount Olympus.
Right.
But he's one of the main gods. Then there's the other two sisters, Hestia. In Roman, it's Vesta. And Demeter. In Roman, she's Ceres. So we'll start with Zeus. With the assistance of his older brothers Hades and Poseidon, Zeus overthrew his father Kronos, king of the Titans, and became the chief deity in the new pantheon called the Olympians. As I said, because they lived on Mount Olympus, comprising mostly of his siblings and children. In addition to controlling the weather, Zeus was noted for his chronic infidelity to his sister wife Hera. Among the results of his weaknesses for comely mortal women were Hercules and Helen of Troy. Although he didn't just sleep with mortals, he also had affairs with goddesses like his other sister, Demeter, and the Titan god Leto. That's just a small portion of, as you'll hear more.
Yeah.
He is also god of law, order, and justice. He is often depicted as a regal, mature man with a sturdy figure and a beard. His symbols include the thunderbolt, eagle, oak tree, bull, scepter, and the scales of justice.
And his theme song is dun dun.
Now his sister queen wife, Hera. She's the queen goddess of Olympus. Hera was both sister and wife to Zeus, as well as goddess of marriage. It's kind of funny. Women, childbirth, and family. Though she is often depicted as a regal, reserved woman in the prime of her life, she was merciless when it came to her husband's numerous extramarital adventures. Unfortunately for the objects of Zeus's affections, Hera tended to torment the other women and their offspring rather than Zeus himself. Her symbols include the peacock, cuckoo, and cow. One of the things Zeus used to do to try to get away with all of this extramarital affairs was he would transform himself into different objects and animals and stuff. One of the things he never transformed himself into was a peacock, because that's his wife's symbol, so that would have been pretty dumb.
Would have been weird.
Yeah, no kidding.
Looking like your sister.
Wife? While sleeping with your other sister? Oh, the mythologies. Poseidon. Poseidon is best known for being god of the sea, but he is also the god of horses, water, storms, hurricanes, and earthquakes. Now, I'm not sure. I'm also a sciencey person, so Poseidon being god of the sea and horses, this is where the hippopotamus comes in, which hippopotamus means water horse. I just love that. He was married to the Nereid Amphitrite, but like most gods, he had multiple extramarital affairs that led to some seriously strange children, including the winged horse Pegasus and the Cyclops who was blinded by Odysseus in Homer's epic poem, the Odyssey. In some stories, Pegasus is born to Medusa after Poseidon rapes her. This results in Medusa becoming the hideous Gorgon of legend. He is depicted similarly to Zeus as a mature man with a sturdy figure and a beard, but he holds a trident. In addition to the trident, his symbols include horses, bulls, and dolphins. Just to clarify, his wife, the Nereid, she's a sea nymph and daughter of one of the old sea gods. So, at least he didn't marry his sister or niece like his brothers?
Right. He's trying to spread out the gene pool.
There you go, yeah.
Into horses and one-eyed men.
Horses and giant monsters. Hades. Hades ruled the world of the dead. This is the third and eldest brother. He ruled the world of the dead, with which he was sometimes synonymous. The chilly lord of the underworld was one of the few Greek gods to come across as dispassionate. He was not the ultimate judge of the souls that wandered into his domain, nor did he mete out their punishment for sins committed during their lives. He was, however, very cunning and persistent. He tricked his niece Persephone into eating enchanted pomegranate seeds so that she would have to remain with him for a portion of the year. She was supposed to remain with him in the underground forever, but her mother, Demeter, became very depressed and made a deal with her brother Hades so that Persephone only had to spend half the year there, which is why we have the seasons. Now, this is just a little example of how a lot of mythology is just made to explain everyday events. But we'll actually hear more about Hades and Persephone later. Hades was also the god of wealth, which is where his Roman name comes from. The rich father, Pluton or Pluto. The ancient Greeks believed all riches came from the earth.
Well, they do.
Yeah, everything starts with the earth, right? But especially the riches like gold and
Silver,
precious stones and all of our
trees,
all of our metals. But he is most commonly depicted similar to his brothers, but he has his three-headed dog Cerberus, like Fluffy from Harry Potter, with him, and often a two-pronged pitchfork. In addition to Cerberus, his symbols include a drinking horn, key, scepter, and screech owl. The sister Demeter, and mother of Persephone, Hades' wife. Okay. The family tree gets really complicated
so
here.
He married his niece.
Yes. Demeter was goddess of harvest, fertility, nature, growth, and the seasons. She is depicted as a mature woman holding sheaves of wheat and a torch. Her other symbols are the cornucopia, you know that thing from Thanksgiving, poppy, the winged serpent, lotus staff, pigs, and snakes. There's a lot of repetition in some of these. symbols for gods and goddesses, and I remember thinking the same thing even when I initially learned about them in 10th grade. The last of the original children of Cronus and Rhea is Hestia. Hestia is the eldest child of Cronus and Rhea. Hestia was one of the original Olympians, as well as goddess of hearth, home, domesticity, and chastity. Although some lists of the 12 Olympians omit her in favor of Dionysus because she gave him her throne to keep the peace. This appears to be a modern invention, as no ancient tale tells of her abdicating or giving her seat to Dionysus. It's much more likely that she has been set aside because she plays little role in Greek myths. In fact, she is rarely identified in Greek art. When she is depicted, she appeared as a modestly veiled woman, and her symbols are hearth and kettle. Her Roman counterpart, Vesta, was a major deity of the Roman state as compared to Hestia. The other primary Olympians, or main gods in the Greek pantheon, include Aphrodite, Roman, she's Venus; Athena, in Rome, she was Minerva; Hermes, in Rome, was Mercury; Dionysus, also Bacchus; Ares was Mars; Artemis is Roman Diana; Apollo is Apollo in both; Hephaestus, the Roman, was Vulcan. This just shows how similar the Greek and Roman pantheons are. The main gods are basically... it makes sense, that they'd adopt... all cultures adopt from others, right? Mm-hmm. And so... But just the fact that they adopted so much, so exactly from Greek, it actually does kind of make me wonder. But I don't know. Now, some of these others are the children of Zeus, and others came into being through some weird events. But what they all have in common is that they were present in a multitude of Greek tales and worshipped by the people. Start with Aphrodite, the name that gave us the term aphrodisiac. In Roman mythology, she was named after the term venereal, which if you don't know what that means...
Google it.
Or ask your parents.
Google it.
Aphrodite's origin story has to be one of the weirdest of any mythology. At least one version of it is. Because, of course, there are numerous ancient sources that can vary a lot, and Aphrodite's birth is one that changes the most when comparing the two main written sources, which is the ancient writers Homer, who wrote the epic poems The Iliad and the Odyssey, as well as other works, but those are what he's best known for.
And The Simpsons.
Not that Homer.
Oh, okay.
And the other one is Hesiod, who wrote the Theogony, which is all about the ancient Greek gods. That is only about the Greek gods. So those are the two main sources for writing. Obviously we have artifacts and stuff. They're portrayed all over the place. But the more popular and interesting story is from Hesiod's Theogony. In it, Aphrodite was said to have emerged from foam generated when the severed testicles of Zeus's grandfather, Uranus, were thrown into the sea. Were thrown into the sea by his son Cronus. So Zeus's father cut off his father's genitals and threw them in the sea. That is how Aphrodite was born.
So the testicles of Uranus.
Yep.
Got it.
Maybe that's why she's the goddess of love, sex, passion, procreation, and beauty. And does that make her the aunt of Zeus, Hera, Hades, and all those siblings? She came directly from the genitals of... Her less interesting origin story is in Homer's epic poem, The Iliad, where she's the daughter of Zeus and the Oceanid Dion. And Oceanid is the daughter of the Titan Oceanus. So technically Zeus and Dion were cousins. So Aphrodite is either his daughter or his aunt?
Yes. Why not both?
Aphrodite was married to the god Hephaestus, but they had no children. Instead, like most gods, she had numerous affairs, most notably Ares, with whom she bore 3 children, although she also had children with mortal men. She is commonly depicted as a naked or semi-nude beautiful woman, and there are a number of extremely famous artist renderings of her from all around the world that date back as far as she was written about, approximately 2,500 years ago. Her symbols include a magical girl, Myrtle, which is a flower plant,
And a ghost in Harry Potter.
roses, the scallop shell, doves, and sparrows. Now, there's a very famous statues and paintings of her. There's the Botticelli that features the scallop shell. I believe it's called the Venus Rising.
Yep.
There's the Venus de Milo is the sculpture of, she has no arms in that one,
But she's naked.
Yep. Of course, a lot of Greek ancient statuary was naked, yes. But I don't think Aphrodite ever has much for clothes on.
Just her hair.
Now we're on to her husband, Hephaestus.
Gesundheit.
Okay, I'll say Vulcan then.
Okay.
Which
So
is
long
the
and
Roman.
prosper.
I saw that coming. Another god with a different origin story was Hephaestus. He's the god of craftsmen, metalworkers, carpenters, blacksmiths, artisans, fire, and volcanoes. He was the son of Hera, but the tales differ in that either Zeus was his father or he had no father.
Okay.
He was also lame and cast out of Olympics. He was one of the few gods to ever be allowed back after being cast out. Probably because he was a master craftsman and made the weapons and armor for all of the gods, as well as a few mortals. Hephaestus is traditionally the husband of Aphrodite, but Homer lists him as being with the lesser-known goddess Charis, the personification of grace. This is in the Iliad. He is depicted as a bearded, crippled man with a hammer, tongs, and an anvil, sometimes riding a donkey. His other symbols include fire, axe, quail, guard dog, and crane. Something I found interesting, because I didn't know, and there's not a whole lot I don't know when it comes to this mythology, since I've studied it for a long time, was that Hephaestus is tied to the linear B writing found on Crete. After, you remember the Minoans episode?
There was linear A and linear B.
Yeah, the linear A was what the Minoans left behind, but the linear B came after them. And they've linked, they think it was an early text about Hephaestus, at least parts of it were. Mm-hmm. And I found that really interesting, although it hasn't been completely deciphered. So, next, we'll discuss Aphrodite's main squeeze, who wasn't her husband, of course. Ares was
So her side piece.
Her mains, yeah, her. I don't even know if you'd say side piece, because I don't know if she was ever even with Hephaestus. They were married, but...
Yeah. Her concubine, then?
Sure. Ares was the god of bloodlust, violence, war, and manly virtues. He was a son of Hera and Zeus, but all of the other gods, with the exception of Aphrodite, hated him.
Wonder Woman didn't like him either, because she killed him in that movie.
That's true. Well, that would make sense. A lot of people didn't like him. Homer even portrays him as moody and unreliable, although his Roman counterpoint was regarded as a dignified ancestor of the Roman people. And his Roman name is where we get the word martial. Martial arts.
Well, as I understand it, the Greeks were a more peaceful people, whereas the Romans were more of a war-mongering people.
Well, it depends on when in Greek history.
Yes, but in general, you don't think of the Greeks as conquerors, whereas with the Romans, I always think of them as conquerors.
That's true. In general, when you think of the Greeks, I mean, the city-states came together. I mean, there was battling and stuff among them, but then, and obviously there's also the Spartans were the fighters among the city-states, and they had wars, but they didn't try to conquer the rest of the world.
Yeah, there was more like protection, really.
Obviously some did, like Alexander the Great did go off on.
Yes, but he was also crazy.
Maybe we'll have to do an episode about him.
Well, of course we will.
There are movies about him, after all.
A couple.
Ares generally represents the chaos of war, in contrast to his sister Athena, a goddess of military strategy and skill. He is often depicted as a clean-shaven young man, either nude with a helmet, spear, or sword, or as fully armed warrior. His symbols include the boar, serpent, dog, vulture, spear, and shield. As I mentioned, Athena, Ares' sister, was a goddess of war. But she was also the goddess of wisdom, reasoning, intelligence, skill, handicrafts, and peace. She was looked up to by most gods, and all of the famous heroes sought her help or advice. She was also one of the most popular of all the gods, and has an interesting origin story. The city of Athens in Greece, it's debated whether her name came from the city name, or the city name was named after her. Yes.
Which came first, the god or the city?
Exactly. She was the daughter of Zeus and the Oceanid Metis, but she sprang fully formed in full battle armor from Zeus's forehead, because it was foretold that Metis' next child may overthrow him, so Zeus swallowed the already pregnant woman, Metis. This is actually a tale from before Hera. Metis was his wife, and he swallowed her while she was pregnant with Athena.
Of course, as you do.
Zeus's father was swallowed by his father. It's a god thing. Yeah, there's a lot of swallowing. In fact, there's paintings too. There's a famous Gauguin painting of Uranus swallowing and eating all of his children. It's a nasty painting, but yep. Athena is usually depicted as a majestic lady with a beautiful but stern face, unsmiling lips, gray eyes, a graceful build, emanating power and authority. She is always regally clad in either a chiton or full armor. I may have said that wrong, but I'm not.
You're not a linguist.
Exactly. There you go. In the former case, she is sometimes represented with a spindle, since she is the goddess of handicrafts as well.
So, the goddess of cosplayers.
There you go. And do-it-yourselfers and
Yes, but we're cosplayers.
Craft sales. In the latter, she wears an elaborately crested Corinthian helmet and holds a long spear in one hand and a shield in the other. Her other symbols include olive trees and owls. Hers is a lot more simple as far as the symbols go. Just like Artemis and Hestia, Athena was never swayed by love or passion and never had any children. So there's a few gods that never slept around, never slept at all. Artemis was the fleet-footed goddess of the hunt, wilderness, virginity, childbirth, the moon, archery, and protection. She was the daughter of Zeus and Leto, and twin sister to Apollo. Both her and Apollo are archery gods, but she is also the goddess of the moon, while he is the god of the sun. She is often depicted as a young woman dressed in a short knee-length chiton and equipped with a silver hunting bow and a quiver of arrows. Her other symbols include hunting tools, the moon, cypress tree, animal pelts, deer, hounds, and other wild animals. Her twin brother, Apollo, was among the most important and feared of the gods. He was the god of light, the sun, prophecy, philosophy, archery, truth, inspiration, poetry, music, arts, manly beauty, medicine, healing, and plague.
And candy bars.
There's so many, yes. Yeah, most of these gods have a ton of things they're the gods of, but then in both Greek and Roman mythology, there's also lesser gods that, because he's not who I associate as the god of medicine and healing, but that was one of his domains. There's lots of other.
It was like he was the minister of this, even though he doesn't know exactly what he's doing. Like,
well, he's like the he's the boss of the.
You go figure that out.
Apollo is depicted as young, beardless, handsome, and athletic. In myth, he can be cruel and destructive, and his love affairs are rarely happy. He is often accompanied by the muses, and his symbols include the sun, bow and arrow, lyre, swan, mouse, laurel wreath, deer, and python. Now, he's the god of prophecy, which is part of why he was so feared, because the ancient Greeks relied a lot on prophecy. In fact, the oracle at Delphi was Apollo's mouthpiece. And a 2001 study determined that the oracle was likely hallucinating due to ethylene gas rising from the rocks beneath the temple. Big surprise! What? Apollo wasn't directly influencing her? Obviously, we're not that big believers in...
I believe most gods are influenced by drugs.
Or worshippers.
Well, that's where they come from. People got high and went, man, I just saw God.
Oh, and that's a perfect segue to Dionysus, the god of wine, fruitfulness, parties, madness, chaos, drunkenness, vegetation, ecstasy, and theater.
Sorry, is he in my family?
He also has multiple stories associated with his birth, including that he was the twice-born son of Zeus and the mortal princess Semele. Zeus snatched him from his mother's womb as she was dying and stitched Dionysus into his own thigh and carried him until he was ready to be born.
Okay.
Yup. He is the youngest Olympian and the only to have a mortal mother. His place in Greek mythology is often debated, but like Hephaestus, his name has been linked to the Linear B language. That's believed to be some of the earliest Greek writing. So again, he might be the youngest of the gods in their lore, but he was probably worshipped very early on. He is depicted as either an older bearded god or an effeminate, long-haired youth, and his attributes include a drinking cup, which is considered to be a bottomless drinking cup. It's always full. Mm-hmm. The grapevine, and a crown of ivy. When I think of this, I think of Christmas Carol and the god of Christmas. Is it past? Present?
I think present. Present? The one that has everything?
Yeah, the one that has all those.
Present.
Yes, so that's what I think of when I think of Dionysus. He's got a crown of leaves on, and he's got drink and food and everything all around him. Mm-hmm. That's the image that comes to my mind. He is often in the company of a group of attendants, including satyrs, young women, and his old tutor Silenus. His other symbols include bull, dolphins, serpents, tigers, goats, and donkeys. The animals really add up a lot and are often copied among a lot of especially the male gods. But some are very unique, like Hera and her peacock.
Right.
And Athena and an owl. But others not so much. Hermes. Like many gods in the Greek pantheon, Hermes presided over multiple spheres. In the Odyssey, he is depicted as a messenger god and is known to many as only that. Like for me, for example. I knew he was that, but have to review to learn more. But he was so much more. He was god of travel, commerce, communication, borders, eloquence, diplomacy, thieves, games, music, language, protecting livestock, fertility, luck, and he was the one Olympian who guided souls to the underworld. Hermes is another son of Zeus, but his mother was the nymph Maia. He is depicted as either a handsome and athletic beardless youth or as an older bearded man. He has a herald's wand, which is a caduceus staff entwined with two snakes, winged sandals, and a traveler's cap, a stork, and a tortoise. And the tortoise, he used the tortoise's shell to make a lyre.
Rude.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, whenever I hear the name Hermes,
yeah,
I think of the wing shoes.
Yep. As the messenger god. Yep. That's what he's mostly known as. So, if this is your first time learning about the Greek pantheon, that would have been a lot to take in.
It was a lot to take in. I had a basic knowledge of it, but that's a lot more.
But there really is no short or easier way to explain the primary gods, except by learning more of by hearing more of the stories. But I mean, I'm not gonna read you out all the stories instead of getting on with the podcast. That's also where accurate modern portrayals can come in handy. So we'll start with the next portion with my Simpsons reference. Now, The Simpsons has so many Greek mythology references. So I'm going to start with some of the main gods, including an origin or birth, included in the Greek god's couch gag. Couch gag used in episode 603, Havana Wild Weekend, aired in November 2016. So the couch is made out of clouds and is resting on top of a heavenly plane of more clouds in a Greek mythology environment. The Simpsons are all dressed as Greek gods. Bart as Hermes, Maggie as Artemis, Lisa as Athena, Homer as Zeus, and Marge as Hera. And they all magically fly onto the couch, except for Lisa, who's apparently missing. They all look around for her, and Lisa suddenly rips out of Homer's head, reading Homer's Odyssey. Homer as in Homer the Greek poet.
So I was right earlier.
However, this leaves Homer with a hole in his head. Homer then takes Maggie's pacifier out of her mouth and puts it in the hole in his head, which then sucks her pacifier, making the same sound as Maggie does with her traditional pacifier sucking. So there you get Simpsons' take on what god's birth?
Athena.
There you go.
I was listening.
Another episode, Tales from the Public Domain, This is episode 283 from season 13. Has multiple stories similar to the Treehouse of Horror's Halloween specials, and one story is based on one of the main sources of Greek mythology, which is Homer's Odyssey. There's a lot of Homer here, huh?
There's a lot of Homer in The Simpsons.
Exactly. Homer Simpson is the main character, which in the poem is Odysseus, and he meets various gods and creatures on his journey home. In the episode, Mayor Quimby is Zeus, which is appropriate as far as the adultery side of the character goes. Barney is Dionysus, again, who better to play the god who is known for always drinking, and the sea captain is Poseidon.
Because of course he is.
So I believe The Simpsons did a great job with these gods, unlike the couch gag that had Homer as Zeus. Homer's not exactly known for being almighty or...
But it worked out good for the birth of Athena.
Oh, it worked out great for a couch gag, exactly, but wouldn't work as an episode. Now, since the main pop culture portion will be regarding Hades, I'll cover a bit more on him rather than the remaining gods. If you want to hear more about Greek mythology and pop culture, including The Simpsons, please let us know. So there's a few little references. In one episode, Homer tries a new medication to regrow his hair, but it's so expensive that he tries to get his work coverage to pay for it. And when Mr. Burns learns this, he says, blast his hide to Hades. And Hades, as I did say when we were talking about Hades himself, is often, the underworld is often referred to as Hades as well, and that would be this case. Then in another episode, Homer finds out he has a brother and the whole family go to visit. While visiting the brother, Herb, he allows Homer to design a car. When Herb learns that his new car is called Persephone, he asks what kind of name it was. The constructors told him that she was the Greek goddess of spring and rebirth, and she was carried off to Hades, where she ate 6 pomegranates. Herb interrupted them and said, people didn't want cars named after hungry old Greeks. Then there's a Simpsons comic, number 70, it's called Greek to Me, where Homer tells stories including one of Hades and Persephone. Onto the Hades game. So, the Supergiant Games' recent release, Hades, is a cyclical dungeon crawler, where the main character repeatedly tries to escape the underworld. Zagreus, Prince of the Underworld, is the son of Hades and the protagonist of the game. Sometime before the start of the game, he decides against his father's will to escape from the underworld, no matter how many tries it might take him. He is aided and encouraged in his journey primarily by his caretaker Nyx and his mentor Achilles. However, others outside the House of Hades, such as Sisyphus, Charon, and the Olympians, offer their aid as well. Zagreus is met with numerous obstacles through the realms of Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium, and the Temple of Styx. He is mostly faced with various aggressive shades working for his father. But he also has run-ins with the Furies, the skeletal remains of a Hydra, and the champion of Elysium, Theseus, and the Minotaur, in order to arrive at the Temple of Styx. These battles, combined with the dangerous landscape of the underworld, serve to bring a painful end to Zagreus' escape attempts, sooner or later. Now, almost all of those characters and places exist in Greek mythology, with one exception of the Temple of Styx. Styx is one of the rivers in the underworld. The word Styx literally means shuddering and expresses loathing of death. In Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, the gods swear by the water of the Styx as their most binding oath. Hesiod personified Styx as the daughter of Oceanus and the mother of emulation, victory, power, and might. I couldn't find any reference to Styx as a temple, though. Although that doesn't mean there was no temple to Styx in ancient Greece. People will worship and build temples to anything. And the creators of the game couldn't have a game at all without Styx in the underworld. Styx is a huge part. Now, our regular listeners may also recognize the names Theseus and the Minotaur from the Minoan episode.
What?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of my pop culture references just taken. No, I'm just kidding.
They are both featured in this game as residents of the underworld that the protagonist must fight to escape. I must admit to it being a little weird for a mythology geek like me to be fighting mythological heroes like Theseus to beat a video game, but since they're dead, they don't have a choice, and they're just following the orders of Hades. Well, because Theseus is the hero who slays the Minotaur and rescues the princess and yada yada, right?
And then forgets to change a flag. And
yes,
yeah.
And Yeah. You remember.
I was listening.
So, since this game is loaded with mythological references, I'm not going to cover all of them, or even just the references to the gods, because again, there are tons of them. I will, however, compare the portrayal of the main Olympian gods in the game to traditional Greek mythology, based on Hesiod and Homer. So I'll cover the gods that I already talked about, and tiny bit more on the main character. In the game, there are two main areas where you learn about the gods. The first is through dialogue, visuals, and the main story, like most games. But the second is through a codex, written by the main character's tutor, Achilles. So think of it as a journal. And if you were to read all of... So I'm going to use my information based on both the story and the codex written by Achilles. So Zagreus, as I mentioned, the god Zagreus is the main character of the game. And in the game, he is the son of Hades and Persephone, although he never knew his mother was Persephone until recently. In mythology, he is a minor god, neither the son of Persephone and Zeus or Persephone and Hades. He was sometimes identified as a god worshipped by the followers of Dionysus, and other times as Hades himself. That's about all I could even find on Zagreus.
That's about as much as the pop culture references I could find about Zagreus.
There's not much on him. But he's not completely made up.
No.
The main antagonist and final boss is, of course, Hades himself. Hades is the god of the underworld and of mineral riches of the earth. In the game, he is in charge of maintaining order within the underworld, determining the placements and punishments of the dead, and hearing the petitions of shades that come before him. Yet in mythology, as I already mentioned, he is not in charge of judging souls or their punishments. There are a lot of other beings responsible for those aspects of death. In the game, Hades is stern, serious, and dedicated to his work. His past treatment of Zagreus is shown between escape attempts. He was strict and often cruel to Zagreus during his childhood. He employed Achilles to teach Zagreus fighting and give him more of a firm direction in life. Meanwhile, Hades seems to have left much of the caretaking and raising of Zagreus to Nyx. Hades is resentful of Zagreus' repeated attempts to escape the underworld, and greets his return with scorn and mockery. Additionally, he will sometimes order shades to congregate near Zagreus in order to punish him. Hades realizes that he needs to become personally involved and heads off Zagreus, having donned his Helm of Darkness, which in mythology was made for him to use in the war against the Titans, but has been donned by many other gods and heroes. He also brings a spear that is one of his symbols mythologically as well. Now, the codex entry for Hades is, remember, this is written by Achilles, so it says, "What else is there to say about the Master? Master, not just of the house in which I work, but of the entirety of the domain beneath the earth, the place we all end up after we die. He is a god of character, I have to give him that. In life, I once served someone who reminded me of him a little, yet even the kingliest of mortals pales in comparison. Suffice it then to say that the Lord Hades takes matters of the underworld in utmost seriousness. He is impatient with his only son, impatient to make progress at his never-ending work, for he presides over an endless procession of death. The Master claims that he alone can tend to their affairs, but not so secretly. I think he desires that his son assist him. The Master may be dedicated to his work, but has no love for it, nor does he harbor any love for his own family upon Olympus, whom I think he blames for every aspect of his misery. Perhaps you think that he is undeserving of one's sympathies, but he has some of mine, and I am grateful to him that he chose me and released me from an aimless death and into his employ. After all, Lord Hades long since severed ties with his family on Olympus and leads a solitary life. Now his son is his sole remaining connection to his family, and I fear it falters." So the main difference I found between the Hades character in the game compared to mythology is just his role in the underworld. Because, like I said, mythologically, he didn't do everything on his own. There were innumerable other creatures, gods, and just characters in general who judged, punished, guarded the realms, all those sort of things in it. The other thing is, in this game, the story of how Persephone got to the underworld is slightly different, which is why Hades has cut off the rest of his family. Although mythologically, he's not known as being a real family man anyways, right? So, because he's in the underworld and the rest are up on Olympus. So this next bit, I'm going to just talk a little bit about Persephone, because she is the main reason for the game existing. There are spoilers in this.
So, spoiler warning, if you haven't played the game and you want to play the game and you don't want to know anything about it, you've now been warned.
This first part isn't as much spoilers, but I'll warn you when the major spoilers come. So Persephone is the goddess of seasonal change and vegetation, and daughter of Demeter. She was the wife of Hades, but has since left for the world above. She was noted to be a stately and kind woman in her time as queen. She is Zagreus' birth mother. It is unknown why she left, or if she was successful in her escape, but she did not die. Following her departure, Hades forbade all mentions of her in the house, and as such, she remains a figure of mystery. She was known only from a flashback sequence and from conversations between Zagreus and Nyx. Her mother Demeter will also confide in Zagreus regarding her daughter. She reveals that Persephone's father was an ordinary mortal and a farmer. So before the events of the game, nobody in the house except for Nyx and Hades themselves knew that Persephone was Zagreus' mother. By the start of the game, everyone in the house has learned that this is the case. The Olympian gods are, however, still unaware of this fact at the story's start, and do not know Zagreus' true motives in escaping the underworld, which Zagreus is leaving to go find his birth mother, because he had never even heard of her, let alone meet her. In the game, Persephone gifts Zagreus with a palm blossom, which is a reference to the mythological story of how Hades tricked her into staying with him in the underworld half the year. Although in the game, she was there because Zeus brought her as a gift for his brother, because she wanted away from Mount Olympus. So that's the story. That's kind of different. So here's where the major spoiler. So I wasn't sure about including this next part, but went for it anyways because I know personally I wanted to know why she left. A good mother doesn't just leave her child and not say a word. So, spoiler alert, if you don't want the ending of the story spoiled, skip ahead about a minute. At the end of the game, Zagreus reunites with his mother, and she returns to Hades. We also find out that Persephone left because she was miserable in the underworld after her son was stillborn. Dun dun dun. Yeah. All these years, she'd been mourning the loss of a son who had been brought back to life, and he didn't even know she existed. Because they live in the underworld, so Nyx asked for a favor and got the boy brought back to life, but then nobody told the mother.
Well, did anyone know where she went?
She did leave a note, but basically just saying that she wasn't going back to Olympus, she was going back to the earth, and she was going to try to find a nice place by the sea where she could do her gardening. And she wanted Hades to look after Cerberus, because she would miss him greatly. Not a mention about Zagreus, because
she thought he was dead.
She thought he was dead. And actually, he didn't even have a name at that time because, well, he was stillborn, you know.
Mm-hmm. And she probably would have picked a better name like Bill.
Although, part of her story, even mythologically, is that she didn't like her original name that her mother and father gave her.
So maybe she would have let the child choose its own name.
That's true. Okay, now on to the main Olympians. Zeus. Zeus is the god of sky and thunder and the ruler of the Olympian gods, just like in mythology.
Mm-hmm.
He gives Zagreus the abilities Chain Lightning or Lightning Strikes, as well as the Thunder Signet, which again, make perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
In the Codex, it is written, "The Master of the Heavens, God among gods, so much of my mortal life was impacted by him, and now, even in death, I serve his brother. I do not think that I have much to say for the Lord Zeus, which is not widely known already. Once he overthrew the Titans, his own ancestor, to wrest control of all the heavens and the earth. He yet presides as ruler over all. Lord Hades bears no love for him, for reasons I can scarcely begin to contemplate. It is as though Lord Hades chooses willingly not to consort with the Olympians." And it's obvious, though, that Achilles doesn't know that Zeus is the one who kidnapped Persephone as a gift to his brother, and then Hades cut off ties with the family because he was pissed off about that. But overall, I can't find anything wrong with the portrayal of Zeus in the game. He's arrogant, does everything for himself. Even like in his dialogue, it's all about him. Like kidnapping a woman as a gift for his brother.
Must be a Leo.
Well, we don't know when his birthday was. Now, Hera. Though Hera does not physically appear in the game, she is mentioned as being the previous wielder of the heart-seeking bow, which is one of the best weapons in the game. So she was the wielder of the heart-seeking bow during the Titan War, and was greatly feared by all for her deadly accuracy. At some point, presumably after she married Zeus, she would discard her weapon as she had other more important things to do. There's no entry about her in the Codex, but I did find that she was known for being a great archer in the Titan War. Like there's red figure pottery that features her with this bow and arrow fighting the Titans. So again, the game got it right. Not much about her, but what there is right. Poseidon. In the game, Poseidon is the god of the sea. He offers rewards that significantly increase the damage of Zagreus' abilities, as well as giving a conch shell. I think it would have been more fitting to have Poseidon give an ability related to water, but they sort of make up for it by having a task of having to catch a certain number of fish to gain his favor. In the Codex, it reads, the Master of the Seas, the Earthshaker, brother to Lord Hades and Lord Zeus, the Lord Poseidon. I am ever grateful that while I was living, he was merciful to me. Down here, however, I must say, I rarely feel his influence. All of us, we are beneath him now. How many of my brethren did he drown during my mortal days? He comes across as affable, yet I've not forgiven him. Lord Hades seems to have no love for him either, equating him to Zeus, and shunning both alike. It's all a business best avoided by my estimation. So, again, seems pretty spot on. Mm-hmm. Now, Demeter, Persephone's mother, so Zagreus' grandmother, I don't think they knew what really to do with her, which is understandable since she's basically only in the game because she is Zagreus' grandmother. In the game, her help involves chilling enemies, causing them to slow and your damage to increase significantly. She also helps with healing and increasing the effects of the help from other gods. She can also give a frostbitten horn. Now, I get the chill factor because she's goddess of the seasons, and even in this as well as in mythology, when Persephone goes missing, she is depressed and the whole world suffers because it's a forever winter. It's not until they make the deal of Persephone being above ground for half the year that we get the seasons. Otherwise it would have been pure winter. But I don't get the healing aspects. My only thought was because she's a goddess of crop growth and fertility. Maybe they manage, I don't know. It's understandable because although I don't make games, this already has a ton of characters, and you do want characters who will help the hero heal. And so instead of bringing in another character, you're gonna give an ability to a character who doesn't really have much.
And who doesn't like to be nursed back to health by their grandmother?
There you go. The Codex entry for her says, over time, mortals have come to fear great Demeter, eldest of the Olympians, goddess of the seasons. Bring her of plenty and take her away of it. I cannot imagine she is moved by any of their offerings. Much is said of her in hushed tones, not unlike the ones reserved for the master here. Once she administered her gifts of sustenance with generosity until some stroke of fate befell. She changed and has never been as giving since. The mortals who once prayed to her for plenty now beg mostly for mercy. My understanding is, despite popular belief, Demeter is no direct relation to Lord Hades or his brothers, being born of more ancient Titan stock. She certainly has taken pains to distance herself from Zeus in particular, often leaving Olympus for long stretches, in search of something. Or someone. Not that I would know a thing of it, only the mutterings of shades descended to this realm from freezing cold or famine. Surely, they pray, the seasons are due for a turn for the better. Now, since Persephone is missing, this is the period in mythology where Demeter gives the entire earth an everlasting winter, basically. They do follow mythology with some minor tweaks to the timeline, but overall, it's quite well done because she changed the writer Achilles doesn't know why, but it would have been when her daughter went missing. And she becomes really depressed. She leaves Olympus a lot to go searching for her daughter. It all lines up pretty good with the mythology. Another spoiler, now in the game, after Persephone reunites with Zagreus and Hades, Demeter makes the deal of half a year below and half above, and she starts the seasons instead of the eternal winter she forced onto the world while Persephone was missing. Athena. So for Athena, I'm going to start with the quote from her. "Hail, noble cousin, now let's get you from that miserable place. I'll see that all of us upon Olympus do our part, beginning here with me." Athena is the Olympian goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare, and that shows in the game with her giving Zagreus the ability to deflect enemy attacks, reduce damage upon him, and increase other defensive options. So she's not bloodlust like her brother. She's helping him.
She's not the aggressive, she's the defensive.
Yeah. She also although this is more a tactic that makes sense. She also allows you to cause more damage if you strike an enemy from behind, which is just...
Well, as it should be.
Yeah. And may give an owl pendant, which is based on her sacred animal.
Right.
In the Codex, it says, "Of some things I am certain, and one of them is this, that there were many times during my mortal life when my spear found its mark thanks to Pallas Athena. She favors those of disposition such as mine, and I would like to think her efforts keep the violent lusting of Ares, her half-brother, well in check. If anybody on Olympus might have the capacity to mend the rift between my master and themselves, it must be her. Though even in all her wisdom, I remain unsure if she can sway my master's obstinates." So, gotta remember, this is written by Achilles, a famous Greek hero. So he went to her for help, and obviously really likes her still.
Never got some armor for his calves.
Now, Ares, on the other hand, starts out with this quote, "You've got quite the fighting spirit in you there, I have to say. Most intriguing, and yet no surprise for someone born in hell itself. You come on out here, and tell me all about it. I'm a fellow student of death, you see." Ares is the Olympian god of war. Unlike the more strategically oriented Athena, Ares' domain is the physical, violent, and untamed aspects of warfare. He offers help to Zagreus by increasing his ability damage and increasing the effectiveness of curses. Ares may also give you a blood-filled vial, and there is a task called the War God's Bloodlust Prophecy that awards the player for killing 10,000 enemies. Very Ares. In the Codex, it says, "Although my heart has long since stopped, it yet holds love in it for all the gods save one, the one who made and ruined me as well. I have no kind words to impart to him, except perhaps in form of this concession. War, much like the heavens and the sea, can be considered as a force of nature. It keeps men down. They will never grow too plentiful this way or near as mighty as the gods, and yet men worship Ares willingly. They are so much like him. I should know. I was a warrior myself. Only in death do I begin to fully grasp my wrongs."
So as the lyrics say, war, what's it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Well, it's great for the gods because it keeps people down. Keeps us from gaining too much. Only in death does the hero Achilles realize. Yeah. Aphrodite. She seems to just want to help Zagreus because she thinks he's cute.
Oh.
Which is very Aphrodite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aphrodite is the Olympian goddess of love and beauty. She makes enemies more susceptible to damage, and their attacks less effective against you. She may also give you the eternal rose, which is one of her symbols. So when I imagine how Aphrodite helps Zagreus in the game, I think of the fact that the saying that love and lust and passion are very distracting and they'll only get in the way for fighting or war or whatever, that sort of thing. And so she gives your enemies this, and then it makes them less effective, makes them weaker against you. Does that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's where the creators of the game are going with it, but it makes sense to me.
Honestly, it's one of the big myths for all athletes in anything. That don't have sex or before a fight or in books and movies and everything, a lot of people don't want their significant others out there fighting with them because they'll get distracted and falter. That's what I was thinking. In the Codex, it says, Aphrodite wields her beauty and her charm with much the same lethality as I could wield the spear. I have seen her handiwork firsthand, and it is often not as pretty as she is. I sometimes think that she, among all the Olympians, may be the mightiest of all. A crashing wave or thundering tempest are preferable to a broken heart. Yet, while love's the force that brought me and countless others low in life, it also brought me and countless others strength, beyond the bounds of normal men. Still, I fear that Aphrodite's power is the most terrible in all the world. I love that statement, because yes, it says that love and, more lust would cause, weakness and stuff, but... Artemis. In the game, Artemis is the Olympian goddess of the hunt and of the wilderness. She gives Zagreus the abilities to deal critical damage and improve his cast abilities. And the cast is a form of ranged attack, which makes sense if she's a hunter. And she may also give adamant arrowhead. Again, perfectly in tune with mythology since her symbol is bow and arrows. In the Codex, it says, the goddess of the hunt has always held my highest admiration. Unlike so many of her brethren on Olympus, she seems unconcerned with being praised at every turn by mortals, and instead, she dutifully holds her station as a master of the natural world. Even Lord Hades may hold some respect for her, I think. Certainly her power is responsible for no small quantity of shades in this domain. Lord Hades and the Lady Artemis have certain traits in common, I suppose, each solitary and committed to their work. If only my Lord Hades understood that someone such as Artemis could be someone to confide in rather than resent along with all the other Olympians. So she seems... So everything seems pretty accurate so far.
Yeah, with the few exceptions, there's...
Well, like the Demeter being the
Demeter
being the healer.
And she's not
but still,
traditionally known as healing. It's a minor thing.
But once again, it's grandma.
There you go. Grandma's chicken soup has got a cure. Cure's all, right? Dionysus. So Dionysus first says, Hey there, Zagman, how's it going? Look, you've got to get here with the rest of us already. We've been saving you a spot. Let me see what I can do. Make life a little sweeter for you in the meantime. And that sounds appropriate for the youngest of the Olympians.
And when you say that, in my head, I'm picturing a god with a backwards baseball cap and a beer in one hand.
Yeah.
Dark sunglasses.
To cover up the
bloodshot eyes. Yeah.
Dionysus is the Olympian god of wine and madness, and cousin to Zagreus. His offers to help Zagreus revolve around his signature curse, which is unsurprisingly called Hangover. Slows and stuns enemies. He also has various other drinking-themed boons, and may give the overflowing cup to the player, which, as we discussed, is one of his symbols in mythology. The Codex entry for Dionysus is, Perhaps I ought to feel a kinship with this easygoing son of Zeus, for it is said that he has some mortal blood in him, not just divinity. This may explain why he, among Olympians, is so well loved by mortal kind, because he loves them back, bringing to them more joy than suffering, for the most part. Being rather unlike the other gods in this regard, he nonetheless maintains a careful distance from the underworld, generally severing his ties with all his mortal followers upon the moment of their deaths. Why confront the woes of the dead when you can live in an eternal feast?
Yeah, so, that's right. Yeah.
Another... This is why we're comparing the game Hades to instead of other games or other pop culture. Because if you pay attention when playing this game, you could actually theoretically learn a lot of mythology.
There you have it. If your parents ask you why you're playing this game, you are learning things.
You'd have to actually read through all of the...
You're learning things.
Okay, so then lastly is Hermes, the Olympian god of commerce, trickery, and travel, as well as the messenger of the gods and conductor of souls into the afterlife, which is called a psychopomp.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, Hermes helps Zagreus by enhancing his speed in various ways.
Which makes sense.
In the Codex, it reads, one of the free-spirited sons of Zeus. He is patron to travelers, traders, even tricksters. He could be mistaken for a common lad, if not for his extraordinary swiftness. None whom I know approach his agility or athleticism. He puts this peerless skill to a specific use, serving as the messenger of Olympus. Vast distances are nothing to him, yet there is something more to Hermes. He is the only god upon Olympus who dutifully serves the underworld, in addition to his Olympian affairs. The underworld is an orderly place, but the souls of the dead must first be brought to its brink. He has much to do with this. He seems to have ingratiated himself to the boatman Charon, who's notoriously unapproachable even by the underworld's own. Thus, it is my belief that Hermes, besides his many talents, is a god of more than he appears. So, yeah, again, that's why I chose this game, because it's so accurate to mythology. No, it doesn't give you origin stories, but if you're just wanting to learn little bits about the gods, it does include most of that, especially if you read the Codex.
Right.
So, what did you find for other pop culture, aside from Simpsons and Hades game?
Well, to be honest, I didn't even look up anything for The Simpsons because I knew you were taking care of that.
Yes.
So, let's start with Zagreus.
Okay.
The only thing I could find with Zagreus in a pop culture reference is a Doctor Who Big Finish production, and that's their audio stories. From 2003, The Eighth Doctor, and it's a story where the Doctor is taken over by Zagreus.
So the Eighth...
that's McCoy.
Oh, Sylvester McCoy. Okay.
I think. No, that'd be McCann. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So, and the title of that story? Zagreus.
Okay, that should be easy to find.
All right, and now I could go over every single god, but we'd be here for another hour. So I'm just going to stick with the name of the god, the name of the game, Hades.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I went on a little long.
Oh, no, honestly, that was fantastic. I actually learned a lot with that, so thank you. All right, so Hades, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, played by Steve Coogan.
Ooh.
Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans, Ray Fiennes.
And again, all of these will have other Olympians and other Greek
and
mythological characters too, so...
Yeah. Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, and Zena, Warrior Princess... He was played by 3 different actors.
They did take place over a period of time.
Yes. In the DC series Smallville, the villain Darkseid in Earth's history was once known as Hades.
I gotta interrupt you for one.
Okay.
In one of my favorite shows, Lost Girl, this is a big spoiler, but it's off the air already. The show is finished, but we find out the main character's father is Hades. And they actually have to go down. She has to go down to the underworld. So
that's right. I remember that. Was it to fight her dad or to something? She did something with again. Yeah. Anyways, in the 1997 film by Disney, Hercules, played by James Woods, and when everyone thinks of Hades now, they're probably thinking of James Woods because it was a very iconic performance.
Fire hair and
yeah. In 2016, in Once Upon a Time, there was a version of Hades from the Disney version of Hercules.
Well, Once Upon a Time was based on all the Disney stuff, so...
Yeah. In music, there was a folk opera, Hadestown, from 2010, and it even went on Broadway.
Huh.
Yeah. The Korean boy band Vixx, Vixx, they have an album called Hades. That's about all I could find for music with Hades. In gaming, however... There's quite a few titles.
Yep.
God of War. He's in several installments of that game. Kingdom Hearts. James Woods. Again. Age of Mythology and Age of Empires.
Yes.
Mythologies.
Yes, both of those games.
Yeah. Kyo Icarus Uprising. He's the main antagonist. Persona Z. Innocent Sin. Smite. Horizon Zero Dawn. Hades is the name of an AI in that.
Okay, cool.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In the expansion Fate of Atlantis. Hades is in that.
That makes sense, though.
Final Fantasy XIV, Shadow Princess, Rayman Legends. Apparently the Hades is in that as well. I haven't played it, so I can't tell you exactly where or how, but he's in it.
I don't know that one.
In literature, once again, there's a few books. Several series, including Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Hades by Mathew Reiley. And that's actually the name of the book.
The book is just Hades?
Yeah. High School DxD.
No idea.
There's a God of War comic series. In the DC Comics, Wonder Woman goes up against Hades a few times. Yeah.
Just like in the first Wonder Woman movie, she goes up against Ares.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Well, because she is from Mythology. She is...
Correct. She is one of the Amazonians.
Yep.
In the manga fairy tale, Hades is an alias of one of the characters.
Oh, okay.
Now, in science, there is a snake that is blind and is burrowing. It is called the Gyropolis Hades. And that's pretty much the stuff that I could recognize for pop culture. I'm sure there's more, and if you guys think of more and know of more, and I should know about it, email us or leave a comment on the on the Instagram, and we'll take a look at it. But yeah, that's about all I got for that.
Also, not only if you have any ideas of things you want us to cover, but also if you just like this podcast, please share it on social media. That's one of the best ways to grow.
That's how we can grow, yeah.
And spread as a podcast and keep doing this because we really like doing it. And yeah, we hope you're liking it and possibly even learning things. Maybe, if you want to.
Well, I'm learning things.
Yeah. So am I.
If you want to contact us, our email is diggingdeeperwiththeancients@gmail.com, all one word. And our Instagram is diggingdeeperwiththeancients, all one word. And yeah, just like, share, follow, tell your friends, tell your grandmother.
We don't include Instagram pictures for all of the podcasts because sometimes, well, there's copyright issues, obviously, such as with the game. But for more of the archaeology-based ones, there's pictures. So if you don't see pictures for an episode and you'd like to see some, even just message us or email us.
Yeah.
And I can find some.
Anyway, that's about all we got for today. And thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.